So 2020 has been absolutely insane for me. The black magic has basically came into my life and changed it for the absolute better. The community has been wonderful and I've learned so much in the last 10 months with this beast of a camera. So I want to talk to you about how the black magic has basically changed my life. What's going on, guys? Long time no see. I am excited to be back and making more black magic videos for you guys and want to tell you about more of my experiences and the things that I've learned. So in this video, you've read the title, I want to talk about how the black magic made me a better filmmaker, because there's a lot to really discuss and digest when it comes down to this camera. An overall amazing piece of technology that has pretty much propelled me forward professionally and in my knowledge pool. This thing has taught me just a world of stuff, and I want to break that down with you guys today. So just a little bit of backstories. I've been doing film and photography for about 7.5 years at this point, and I thought, you know, your boy knew just about everything. I started off taking photos, doing senior portraits, making super quirky and super bad early YouTube videos, but I've always kind of had a passion for teaching and just kind of sharing knowledge the best that I can. So I quickly transitioned from senior portraits and photography to doing my first wedding film. I did my first wedding film for $300. But I watched a lot of people like, Matt Como and Sam Colder back in the day, and I used a ton of transitions, and I wanted to kind of like be in that crowd, and slowly and surely a few things changed. I became more interested in the cinema world, and I use that word specifically because it was more than mirrorless. It was more than just a standard DSLR. It was trying to understand, more about my composition, more about my subject, telling more stories. I started to become a lot more aware of these specific film contexts. I couldn't even fathom putting myself in cinema life for a while because it felt far too overwhelming. Like, I would look at cameras like the Red or the Arri Alexa or plenty of other things that I can never afford, but I couldn't even imagine how to operate that camera. Like, I didn't know what the buttons were. I didn't even know how to cut it on to start. But then a few things changed. As I began this year, I wanted to get my hands in a camera that I had been eyeing for a while because it looked like it fit the bill. It looked like it fit all of my needs. It would introduce me to an entirely different aspect of cameras, and that was the black magic. Buying the black magic was probably one of the best decisions that I could have made because it gave me a deeper understanding of film cameras without overwhelming me of how these things are operated. The menu system was an absolute dream. That's why I always consider this as the best camera for film beginners, because one, it's hard to beat for the price, the 4K and the 6K, and two, the learning curve. Oh, this thing is untouchable for me. The 6K RAW was basically some stuff I had never even dreamed of. Like, the image that it produces, the stunning, and I mean stunning visuals, I tend to get lost in them to this day. Even though I have, multiple other cameras, there's still something that brings me back to the look and the feel of the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. And overall, to me, this was a major upgrade from my Sony a7 III. Basically, there was no overheating. I had 6K slow motion to work with now when I only had 1080p on the Sony, and now I had an SSD workflow, and I no longer had to deal with painfully slow memory cards. So I began to transition my life, my film life, my client life, and even my YouTube channel into making black magic content. And I wanted to get on YouTube and document my journey. And I wanted to hop into these black magic groups because I'd always heard about the community. I watched a couple of videos, and one of my favorite creators of Two Lands uses the black magic, and he is phenomenal with it. So I would always, see people who use it, and it would blow me away. But when I actually hopped into the community and I got the feedback, and I have talked to and met random strangers who I don't think I would have ever connected with, but because of this camera, you know, we've built relationships and we talk and we get to chit chat about all of the new stuff, and I get to involve them in these videos. That was actually eye-opening. And I was able to grow my channel from 300 subscribers to 5,000 by the end of this year. And it's just shocking. So I fell in love with the black magic, and I fell in love even more with the people and the community around it. And by doing that, it basically helped demystify all of these cinema challenges. It helped me broaden and deepen my understanding for cinema cameras. It helped me problem solve to a level and to a degree that I had never problem solved before. So this thing right here, 10 out of 10 would recommend, because something about this camera is just, I can't get enough of it. So I want to talk about the big transition that happened. And the reason all of that I just said was even possible, it was because I had to go full manual. Coming from the A7 III, basically I had autofocus, I had auto white balance, I had everything at my fingertips, and I was just like, well, I'm just gonna put it in basically auto. You know, I would still do shutter speeds and iris and stuff like that, but I was like, I'm just gonna go for it, and whatever works, works. But now, this camera got me thinking, and it got me thinking to a completely different level. The manual focus on this camera made me a better storyteller, because autofocus is fantastic, but autofocus doesn't know where the story is. Now, to be a better storyteller, I had to get my camera off the gimbal, I had to get a top handle, start shooting handheld, and start experimenting. The Blackmagic also taught me how to color grade better. I used to shoot with the Sony A7 III, and I would try to shoot S-Log 2. I mainly was in Cine 4 and things like that, but I would never push it too far because it had 8-bit codecs, and once you start trying to color grade too much, it can tend to fall apart. But getting RAW in my life, I was able to push and pull stuff that I never even knew I had the opportunity to. The latitude of RAW and the higher bitrate just kind of gave me that little bit of extra push to be encouraged to color grade more, to be encouraged to experiment and try new things, try filming moody. It made me want to do and experiment a lot more. And one of my favorite downsides, but still a feature to me, is this camera has no stabilization. So I had to figure it out. And I had never met a challenge so challenging that I was like, holy crap, some of my footage is shaky, because one, I'm a crap filmmaker and I'm just now a baby, and I don't know how to get the shots I want because I've always had them handed to me. So I love stabilization. I'm not saying don't get a camera without stabilization. Stabilization is a blessing. But if you're ever in a situation where you need to move your feet and you need to understand the art of storytelling, and you need to understand the art of doing that without having stabilization, this is the best. This is the best camera to do that on, and this is the one that you're going to want to learn with. I'm just not gonna try to skip past like I did and just almost destroy this camera. But when it comes down to learning, having this rig, this broken down right now, but having something that's this heavy, that is a lot more weighted than just your standard mirrorless camera, helped me understand stabilization a lot better. And because of that, I fell in love with handheld. And I wanna make a whole video just talking about handheld video, because to me, when it comes to that narrative, when it comes to that feeling, handheld shots are some of the best shots that you can incorporate into your story. And lastly, the Blackmagic made me better at my craft. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't all of this your craft? Well, yes. Because of this camera, I wanted to film more. I wanted to study more. Honestly, there was a path that was open and a well of knowledge that I had to reach down into to even understand what I was capable of with this camera. And this camera helped me kind of figure that out. It helped me build a channel. It helped me create content for you guys, and you guys helped me be a better filmmaker. It introduced me to the nature of rig building. I didn't even know I wanted a rig. Like, I had the mirrorless A7 III and I was just cool. You know, I didn't have to worry about the batteries. I didn't have to worry about too much weight. I was just kind of getting by with cool transitions and LUTs. But building rigs, man, rig culture is a dream now. Like, I've stepped up more and more and more because I've just fallen in love with the looks and the things that I can do with my camera and the problems that I can solve by building rigs. And this camera taught me, of course, how to tell better stories. And for that, I am so grateful because now I'm interested in things that are so much bigger than me, all because I took a chance and bought a 6K camera in a 4K world, and I am, man, no regrets. So, in closing, no, I will not be giving up on this camera. I absolutely love it. As I get more cameras in, I just got the Sony a7S III. I love filming on this thing because it has autofocus. As I journey in between getting the C70 or the FX6 or the not the Ari Alexa, I wish, the Ursa G2, as I figure all of that out, I'm still going to be making content with the Blackmagic. I'm still going to be shooting with this thing, and I'm still going to be sharing my experiences with you guys. And I am also very excited and thrilled to see what Blackmagic comes out with next, because B-Raw and just the workflow of this camera, man, I know B-Raw is probably the most left out thing in the conversation, but it is my favorite thing about this camera. But with that all being said, that's all I have for you today, guys. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you loved it, consider subscribing, because I'm gonna bring you more content just like this every week. So you guys stay safe, you're loved, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.